Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining this morning on the Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's a little bit of a delay here. It's a bit of a lag. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. A very interesting, intriguing section. So, the Bhagavatam is the living heartbeat of the Lord. It is never stale. It is never distant. It is not just historical. Why? Because it speaks directly to our human moments. Some things that we're dealing with right now. It speaks directly to them. Today's verse, this is Canto 3, if you're interested, look it up, Canto 3, chapter 14, verse 19. This is about an intimate conversation between a husband and a wife. Jai Shri Madana-gopāla ki jai. And This is a conversation, but beneath that conversation lies a profound spiritual principle about sacred partnership. That when duty, you see, you have a duty as a wife or husband, when duty becomes devotion, then the house becomes a temple. So we'll start where the scriptures always begin, with reverence. The Bhagavatam is not an ancient collection of entertaining stories. It is the Lord Himself breathing wisdom directly into our lives as we live through them. It's different. It's not just a storybook. So today we enter a quiet hermitage of Kashyapa Muni. And he's sitting absorbed in meditation. And in this silence, his wife Diti walks in. She's restless, she's yearning, very human personality. And at this moment, simple and domestic becomes the stage of one of Bhagavatam's most tender teachings. It is here, in this very human scene, that the Bhagavatam shines its deepest light. It shows us that even in household life, even desire itself can be purified, can be spiritualized, and can be lifted into devotion. So Prabhupada told us spiritual life is not escapism. It's not what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to escape from the realities of the world. It is transformation. It's completely different. We're transforming our existence, our reality. We're not imagining something. So when something ordinary becomes an offering to Krishna, then Lord Varaha appears in our heart. Yes. And as if lifting us from the mud of our confusion. See, Lord Varaha came and lifted Mother Earth. So, when Lord Varaha comes into our heart to lift us from the mud of our confusion, because we made an offering to the Lord of sincere request for inner transformation, then we move from confusion to clarity, to purpose, and peace. Now let's discuss some of the background. What happened? Before entering Kashyapa's and Diti's story, the Bhagavatam takes us through Vidura's heart. Everyone knows Vidura. Vidura is not just satisfied with simply hearing of Lord Varaha's incarnation. He wants the essence. Yes, the story is very beautiful. What's the essence? The why, the how, the deeper meaning between Lord Varaha and the demon. What's the demon's name? Hiranyaksha. So, when Vidura asked this question, Maitreya Muni speaks. He says, wow, that's a great question. What a wonderful inquiry. These kind of questions show that you're a genuine devotee. So, that in itself is a clue for us what kind of questions to ask. Vidur is asking, and it pleases Maitreya. Then the scene shifts to this one, Diti. Right? Diti approaches her husband at sunset. Sunset is not an auspicious time, but she's overwhelmed with desire and jealousy. It's a very human thing. Desire and jealousy. What is she jealous about? She's feeling the weight of her co-wives' good fortune. And the other wives, they have nice children. I don't have any children. So the person speaking here is not a goddess. She's not a Devi. She's a vulnerable woman seeking comfort. Not a bad person. Now Kashyapa Muni, what is his gentle teaching? You see, he's momentarily disturbed. I'm just giving the background before we come to the verse so you know what we're talking about. But he does not reject her. See, he responds with compassion. He steadies her heart. He reminds her, listen, don't forget of your higher nature. Don't forget of your dignity, about the dignity of being a cultured person. So, Kashyapa is disturbed. He doesn't reject her, right? He says, listen, I understand what you're going through. He responds with compassion. And he steadies her heart by reminding her that, look, you are much more, you're bigger than this, you're better than this. So, he's presenting spiritual leadership in the house, in his home. What is he saying? He's saying that you're a wonderful person. So, what do we learn from this? Before we correct somebody, try to highlight their asset of how much they're contributing. You see how great they are. Because everybody has greatness. Find that, highlight it, remind them of how great they are. Then you can make the correction gently. Correction is not easy to make. If we find ourselves very easily correcting people, we're not doing it right. It has to be difficult. If it comes too easily, maybe we have to reevaluate how we correct. It should be difficult then, because we should feel. So, just before our verse, Kashyapa Muni is describing marriage as a boat. Today's verse is number 19, but he's describing marriage as a boat. This boat can carry us across the ocean of turbulent material life. That's the point of marriage. Boat has great functions. It's very important. This sacred institution of marriage is very much exalted in the scriptures. And this verse number 19, it reveals the essence of that boat. What is the essence? Shared duties, shared auspicious duties. That's one. Mutual responsibility. Both husband and wife are responsible. Responsibility is important. And when there's a good balance of responsibilities shared, then the boat is strong. And complementary roles dedicated to the Lord. You know what's complementary? It means one balances the other, one supports the other. It's called complementary. If both are supporting each other in moving closer to the Lord, then you get a perfectly structured married life. It doesn't mean there won't be corrections, it doesn't mean there won't be some disagreements, some frictions, some ups and downs. That's okay. part of individuality. It's not even part of being conditioned. It's part of being individual. There's differences of opinion even among pure souls. There's differences of opinion even among the residents of the spiritual world. They're pure. Nobody in the spiritual world is impure. Difference of opinion is not a problem. It's when we don't know how to resolve or how to deal with those differences. In the spiritual atmosphere, the spiritual sky, when there's differences, those differences are used to flavor and create variety and increase the pleasure of the Lord. Because everyone's motive is to please Krishna. So now we come to the verse. If it's not working, but if you have it on your phone, this is verse 3, 14, 19. You can follow along. You can repeat after me. Yam ahuratmano hyartham. Ahuratmano hyartham. Shreyas kamasya manini. Shreyas kamasya manini. Yasyam svadhuramadhyasya. Pumam charati vijvara. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. This is Kashyap Muni speaking to his wife Diti. Says, "O respectful one, a wife is so helpful that she is called the better half of a man's body, because of her sharing in all auspicious activities. A man can move without anxiety and trusting all responsibilities to his wife." Amazing. You know, in English we have that phrase, better half. Is that an English phrase? Right? Regular English we use, I'm just calling a better half. Meet my better half. That comes directly from this Sanskrit. Atmano hi ardham. This is half my soul. Amazing. Half of myself. So it's an ancient concept. So, purport. This is Prabhupada's purport. He says, by the Vedic injunction, the wife is accepted as the better half of a man's body because she is supposed to be responsible for discharging half of the duties of the husband. A family man has a responsibility to perform 5 kinds of sacrifices, panchayagya, in order to get relief from all kinds of unavoidable sinful reaction incurred in the course of his affairs. When a man becomes qualitatively like the cats and dogs, he forgets his duties in cultivating spiritual values, and thus he accepts his wife as a sense gratificatory agency. When the wife is accepted as a sense gratificatory agency, personal beauty is the main consideration, and as soon as there is a break in personal sense gratification, there is disruption or divorce. But when husband and wife aim at spiritual advancement by mutual cooperation, there is no consideration of personal beauty or the disruption of so-called love. In the material world, there is no question of love. Marriage is actually a duty performed in mutual cooperation as directed in the authoritative scriptures for spiritual advancement. Therefore, marriage is essential in order to avoid the life of cats and dogs who are not meant for spiritual enlightenment. Purport ends here. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjana Chakshunimritam Tasmai Shri Gurave. So here Kashyap Muni in this verse calls Diti Manini. Manini means what? One who deserves respect. Man. Oh, dignified one. It's called a Manini. He reminds her that she's not merely a person driven by desire, but the better half. He's trying to say, you're better of the two of us. Better half. not just equal half. He's reminding her, look, we are respected as a couple and you are even more respectable. So this verse, it's not about hierarchy, one higher than the other. If you look at the words he's using, right? Ardhanini, Manini, respectable one. It's not about a hierarchy, it's about interdependence. And Prabhupada highlights that in the purport very nicely. Interdependence, even in the verse. It's not about control. It's not about who controls whom. That's also a very wrong way of looking at marriage. Or who wears the pants in the house? Who's controlling? Who's more dominant? That's the wrong angle. It's not about control, it's always about cooperation. If you look at it as an opportunity for cooperation, yeah, you can joke about control, it's fine. Oh, you control the other, you control the other. Actually, I let you think you control. We joke about it, it's not a big deal. But the main thing is cooperation, working together, understanding each other. It's not about patriarchy or matriarchy. It's about partnership, but rooted in dharmic values. We have to understand what dharmic values are. It's a part of our culture. So let's explore these concepts a little bit more. This verse can be misread from the modern context. See, the Kashyapa is not calling Diti his subordinate. Not, oh, you're my subordinate. No. He's elevating her. Better half does not mean dependent. It means indispensable. I cannot do without you. See, it's different. One of the statements in the Vedic scriptures, the husband, when the wife is not there, is known as Ardha Purusha, half a person, incomplete. A wife without a dharmic husband carries burdens that are not meant to be carried alone. They're burdens in life. And when you have to carry more burden than you're meant to carry, then you're tolerating more pain than you need to tolerate. So in the Vedic culture, the roles are divided not by ego, but by svabhava. Svabhava means natural disposition. What is a natural disposition? When the roles arise from your nature and not by force, then what happens? Harmony prevails. Things work well together. Things sound beautiful together because they're following our core nature, or what is called psychophysical nature. And home becomes a place of peace, not conflict. Otherwise, what happens? Even the smallest things lead to big conflicts. I have a nice slide here, you can see. Many of us who grew up in Kenya, I grew up right here in Nairobi, I was born here, in the 80s. You might remember a TV show on KBC called Mke Nyumbani. You heard of that? Anybody heard of that show? Mke Nyumbani? You might have heard of it. Very famous, I think she was a cookbook author also. Her name is Alice Tabu. Very famous cookbook author, became a national icon. She's like the Martha Stewart of Kenya, you know. So today, I remember this as I'm thinking, what are traditional roles in traditional societies in the world? Is the wife, Mkenyumbani means lady at home. You're supposed to stay at home. Now, some people, modern sentiments and modern thinkers may dismiss this kind of show as stereotypical, outdated. But beneath the surface of that show was something that is profoundly stabilizing, dignifying. There's a dignity, the sense of order, there's beauty. contribution is empowerment through the agency of nurturing. So for this lady, her natural sense of nurturing was her power. So similarly, Kashyapa Muni, he is describing not a limitation. He's describing the power of feminine contribution when it is rooted in devotion and respect. Those two things have to be there. Respect for each other and common devotion to Krishna. So, when you have traditional roles that are electrified with spirituality, they're spiritualized, then it builds a social fabric that is very strong. And society becomes joyous. And if we see a group of successful householders, or majority of whom are doing well because they're partnering up nicely and they're serving the Lord together despite of differences and whatnot, then other people will want to be inspired by that group. That is why it's so essential that we, those of us who are entering the ashram of Grihastha life, or even if you're not entering, but if you're in a position to give advice to those entering, it's good for us to understand how to navigate these complex relationships, complex psychology of what is to be a man, what is to be a woman, what it means to be married, what it means to be married, but the goal is higher than ourselves. What does it mean to have culture, social structure? Then what happens? This framework, it nourishes not just the men, but the women and the children as well. They grow up very strong, very resilient. Resilient means when the inevitable ups and downs of life come, they can see through it. No, this is not a big deal. We can move through this. Otherwise, small things will defeat us. Now, materially speaking, what we call the traditional roles, they can be oppressive. There is a long history of men oppressing women because in the name of tradition. We all know this. Even the men know this. Women all know this. Some men know this. But then we also know so-called modern roles has also led to chaos. It doesn't necessarily lead to peace. Where both husband and wife are just burning out because they're working really hard and they have this vision that we have to just work day and night without any basis in Krishna consciousness, without any higher goals, without any understanding of peace, without understanding the need to support each other. You're asking for trouble and burnout. Both of these extremes create problem and pain. A misuse of tradition to oppress, or a misunderstanding of how to apply modern roles. Both are valid models. But if you don't understand the higher values in life, both of them is going to fail. Both of them are going to fail. So, bhakti, Krishna consciousness, it transcends both these extremes completely. A wife's natural nurturing tendency becomes her seva, her service to the Lord. And the husband's natural tendency to protect becomes his seva, his service to the Lord. Leverages that. Together, they perform what is called yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. Not just the fire and you put some ghee inside. Sacrifice means you sacrifice your ego. When there's a little bit of fight, you sacrifice the desire to win that argument. There's also yajna. Marriage is a yajna. If you decide not to argue with your wife, you say, Swaha, put that yajna, one ahuti. This is a sacrifice for a higher cause. This is yajna. We approach it this way. But yajna cannot be yajna unless yajnapati is in the center. Yajnapati is Vishnu or Krishna. Otherwise it's not yajna. So when our goal is to become better devotees, then we sacrifice the ego. Both sides have to do it, not just one side. Right? You see the husband and wife sitting in a fire yajna, both are putting. Not just only wife is putting, only husband is putting. Both have to do, right? Both have to give. So Prabhupada is teaching here about the shared sacrifice to please the Lord. He says there's equality in service, but not similarity in function. So, this vision dissolves fear and competition. Actually, getting married can be very fearful. You know, it's not like we have a great deal of experience in it. Yes, we may have seen our parents, their healthy marriage, or maybe not so healthy, or we've seen other families doing well. There's always some apprehension. Is it good decision to get married? Is this the right person? I mean, it's stressful because this one decision is going to determine how happy or miserable you'll be in most of your life. It's a fact. So we take it with a lot of care, this decision. At the same time, you can also overthink it and completely paralyze yourself. You know, am I overthinking it? Am I underthinking it? We get stressed out about that also. It's stressful. But when you have some faith and you recognize the other person has some faith in the Lord, then the presence of the Lord dissolves fear, it dissolves an unnecessary, unhealthy sense of competition, and empowers both partners to grow spiritually. How does that happen? It happens because to worship the Lord, you have a cultural framework. And if you follow the cultural framework of traditional roles, while still having some flexibility for modern practicality, then we can win. The traditional roles are there for a reason. They have a great deal of value. And actually those roles are really just there to support each other psychologically. I remember His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj, he came to America many years ago, like 25 years ago. And he would tell the ladies who are married, you know, Mataji, when your husband is taking lunch, you should fan him. And they're like, what? I never do that. What kind of backward, oppressive thing is this? No, just humor me, just do it sometimes. And especially if it's a very hot day. But she's like, yeah, but the ceiling fan is there, no? And he's saying, well, sometimes the power is gone, so just to keep practice, you should just. They said, okay, Maharaj, we'll try this. Just because you're saying it, so we'll do it. Then 1 year later, Maharaj comes back. Says, so this fanning, how did that work out? Oh, Maharaj, we are happier than ever before. We fan every day. Why? What happened? Your electricity is gone every day? No, we don't yet use the fan. But we are so happy now. Then why? What happened? Our husband doesn't even allow us to fan anymore. We fan a little bit and it melts his heart so much that, no, it's okay, it's fine, I don't need it. But just the gesture, just the attempt of traditional roles melts the other person's heart. Similarly, when a man really takes the effort to show some protection, some chivalry, open the doors, just small things. Be a real man, be a gentleman. It's the gesture that melts the heart. It's not an oppression. It's the ways to show that I love you, that's all. Traditional ways of showing that I care for you, that are rooted. Look at how Kashyap is talking Diti. Manini, Ardhangini. Why do we have to go anywhere else to get these cues? It's all in the Bhagavatam. So bhakti lifts us. It dissolves the fear, it dissolves the competition. So there is a roadmap, a path. Kashyapa Muni uses a word in this verse, Vijvara. Everybody knows what jvara means in Sanskrit? Fever. That's right, fever. Vijvara means without fever. He's saying material life, conditioned life is a fever. Right? What is that fever? Anxiety, insecurity, conflict. These three things rule our modern lives if you don't have Krishna in the center. And it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, it'll just be more exquisite anxiety, that's all. It'll be gold-plated anxiety. It'll be conflict and worry riding in a Rolls Royce. If there's no Krishna in your relationship, this is blue. It's a fever, jvara. But Kashyap says big jvara. When the relationship is rooted in trust and a shared purpose, we trust each other. I trust that your decision is a good one. Let's check it through. Of course, you have to trust and verify. If someone needs some help in making good decisions, then we should work things out together. But the point is to bring Krishna into our lives. Bhakti. We support each other in the Krishna conscious practice. You all know how to do that. You can talk with other experienced grihasthas on how they have maneuvered around some of these difficulties, how they've navigated the difficult storms of life, how they're still married and serving Krishna so nicely together. We can learn a lot from each other. We have a nice community here with great examples living just nearby. This is what makes a society strong. The home becomes a temple, beauty becomes devotion, and love becomes liberation. Its affection becomes upliftment. So Kashyap is telling Dita, you are not a victim of your desires. You are my partner in dharma. That is the power of reminding someone of their higher identity. So, from Lord Ram and Sita, all the way up coming to the modern disciples or the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada, we've seen great examples of sacred relationships with the Lord in the center. Whether someone is a homemaker or a professional or a teacher or a leader, the principle is the same. Keep Krishna in the center, and the home becomes an ashram. You may ask, what are practical ways to keep Krishna in the center? It's not that hard. You put a picture of Krishna in the house. You chant Hare Krishna together. There is a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita about this. Prabhupada, in the purport, it's in the 13th chapter. Amanitam Adambitam. In that one, Prabhupada glorifies married life. He says to make married life happy, yes, you do 4 things. Chant Hare Krishna, offer your food to Krishna, worship the deity, and read scriptures together. Morning and evening, if you just do this a little bit, you will be happy in life. That's how you keep Krishna center. It's not very complicated. So this is bhakti in your body, devotees at home. Live the lives following scriptures, driven by service, not control. Keep it modern because we live in the modern world, but keep it sacred. Because without sacredness, it's not worth living. So may our homes become places that Krishna feels welcome and where devotion naturally flourishes. Let us pray that our relationships reflect the spirit of Vijvara. No more fever, no more anxiety. Leave it to the Lord. The Lord will run toward us and will solve everything. Thank you very much, Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. 5 more minutes, maybe, to discuss. What time? Is it over? 8:30. Okay. Yes, go back.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. I have a little question here. So how do you separate what you just explained, what we practice in Bhakti, and the traditions that we follow? So sometimes devotees, we come with our traditions and we follow them in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
So how do we separate that?
Yes. How do we separate traditions and bhakti? It's a good question. Can you give one example or some example of traditions where it's difficult to separate?
I have seen, like sometimes the marriages have to wait until they have
Yes, okay, so that's a tradition. One tradition is part of the cultural framework, is that traditionally the Matajis have to wait until the husband, it's kind of similar to fanning the husband. Similar, that's a tradition. It's not there in the Bhagavatam, but they do it. So again, it's a gesture. These are optional gestures. You don't have to open the door for your wife. It's optional. But if you do, there are benefits. Is it? There's a joke that, if you see a man opening the door for his wife or for the lady, either the car is new or the wife is new. If the car is old, the wife is old, he's not going to open the door. So, why was he opening in the beginning? He's so excited trying to impress her. It's a gesture, it's optional gestures. So, a lot of the traditions are rooted in gestures that are optional, but they actually help. So, if a wife keeps waiting and the husband says, wow, she's actually suffering, please don't do this anymore. It breaks my heart to see you do this. Okay, do it maybe once a week just to maintain traditions, okay, but don't have to do it. This conversation raises the relationship to more intimacy. But the tradition was there, that's why the conversation happened, you see. If it wasn't there, it didn't happen. So you open the door for your wife. Many traditions are like that. Tradition has a lot of value. There's a reason why they're traditions. There's a reason why they're timeless, why they survive so many generations. Because there's some value there. Now, anything can be misused and abused. Anything. Even good ones. So that we have to be careful. That's why the purification is important.
Prabhu, one time I remember at the London temple, they had a sign at the washroom. It said, men to the left because women are always right. So we see even Prabhupada saying in the purport there that when beauty goes down, then
this purport,
yeah, in the purport to this purport, that if men are attracted only to beauty, and when the beauty dwindles, then there's so much problem. So yet we see in ISKCON, with all this great philosophy, ISKCON has one of the biggest divorce rates.
Yes.
So maybe you can touch on that.
Yes, it's a very serious question, very important question. Why is it that in ISKCON our divorce rate is more embarrassing than the rest of the world? It's a great question. And it's a fact, it is difficult. Life itself is difficult enough. So, and we are claiming now that when you add Krishna in the center, it will be peace. They're claiming. I'm making the claim right now, isn't it? The scriptures make the claim. And yet we see many times when we add Krishna, we both want to become Krishna conscious. And we have very high ideals. The stress becomes even more difficult. And there are many reasons for this. There are many, many reasons for this. But some of them, the core reasons are as follows. One is something known as niyamagraha. Niyamagraha is one of the things that will destroy your Krishna consciousness. You know that list of 6 things. Atyahar, prayasascha, prilpo, niyamagraha, janasanghas. These 6 things, Rupa Goswami says, will destroy your Krishna consciousness. What does niyamagraha mean? To follow a particular rule or regulation just for the sake of the letter of the law, not understanding the spirit behind it. And the other niyamagraha means to completely disregard the laws, whimsically. Both of them are called niyamagraha. So, when a bhakti gets destroyed because of niyamagraha, it undermines a relationship. What are some examples of niyamagraha? You take, like Prabhu was saying, the niyam is that Mataji should only touch prasadam after the husband has finished eating. Now if I enforce it and use it, hey, why are you not following this? This is the niyam, you have to do this. And the person, because maybe she had some low blood sugar or something, she gets a headache and I had to eat, sorry Prabhu. No, the niyam is important. So So sometimes that's the wrong way. Or another way, it goes to the other niyama. Oh, who cares of any rules? So we don't care how we follow anything, just disregard everything, you go and do anything you want. But we still consider ourselves devotees. It's okay, sometimes we go that way. Both of them will destroy our Krishna consciousness. And when the very source that's supposed to keep us together and keep us enlivened becomes diminished because of our disregarding that very important rule, then it collapses. And the joy we're supposed to get becomes the source of misery. And now miseries that are coming from the material sphere is there. Now there's more miseries coming because we didn't follow Krishna consciousness properly. That is why it's very important to have these discussions and reflect on them very deeply. Why do you think we have classes every day? Why do you think we encourage all the devotees, at least if you can't come to the temple, here's some classes remotely, or here, this is very important. And talk to devotees who have navigated this. Try to understand, become wise. And you also become the giver of advice if you have many years of successful marriage. So this is what I can say. This is one thing, it's a very complex topic, Prabhu. We usually spend 7 hours on this topic, this question. This is just one thing. But thank you very much. Something to think about, very thought-provoking. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki, Krishna Bhagavatam ki, Jai Gaur Premanande.